Today we're going to discuss the journey of this lens from 1999 to this lens from 2018. Let's get undone. Gerald Undone. He's crazy. What is happening, everybody? I'm Gerald Undone, and today we're going to be doing a bit of a mix between an overview of a new Canon lens and a little bit of a creative tech news deep dive like we did with the Samyang and Rokinon video from last month. I'm borrowing this new lens as well as the other ones you see here from Camera Canada because they wanted me to make this video because they were excited about a new lens that they were getting, Canon's new 70-200mm f4, because it's been nearly 12 years since the last update in this extremely popular line. So let's talk a little bit about the advancements this lens has made over the years and try and determine whether or not it's worthy of an upgrade or if you'd be better off staying at a previous edition at a reduced price point. So here's Canon's lineup of f4 70-200mm. You've got the original from 1999. This is the f4L USM. This is the least expensive of the lineup, coming in at around $650 US, and this one is still in production today. Then in 2006, Canon added image stabilization and weather sealing to the lens for the f4L IS USM, but it came in at double the price at nearly $1,200 US. Then finally, just in, we've got the 2018 version, the f4L IS2 USM, which is about 10% more than the 2006 version at around $1,300 US. In addition to the lineup of f4 lenses, Canon also has 4 2.8 versions of the 70-200, like this one, which is the current flagship, the f2.8L IS2 USM, but this one is currently no longer in production and is going to be replaced next month by the IS3. The f2.8 line went through a similar track to the f4 line, with there being an original unstabilized version which came out in 1995, and then 3 stabilized versions in 2001, 2010, and then, like I said, a new one coming out in 2018. The f2.8 version, while being a full stop faster, is nearly twice as heavy and twice as expensive at every comparable level to the f4s. But getting back to the f4s, let's talk about what they all have in common. First of which is obviously that they all have a maximum aperture of f4, and they all have a minimum aperture of f32. They all have the same viewing angle, and they're all very, very close in size and weight, with each subsequent release getting a little bit taller and a little bit heavier, but we're talking about millimeters and grams here. And they're all from Canon's L series with their ultrasonic motor for fast focusing. Now, the two older models continue to have more in common, but this is where the newest release starts to break away. These two have the same number of blades at 8, the same closest focusing distance at 1.2 meters or 3.9 feet, the same magnification of 0.21 times, and they use the same old lens hood. The new model, however, receives improvements in all of these specs, with 9 blades as opposed to 8, a closest focusing distance at 1 meter or 3.3 feet, a 0.27 times magnification, and the new ET78B lens hood. The lens hoods are virtually identical, the main difference being that the new one doesn't have the old like velvet style inside to them, and it comes with a release button, which I like because it gives you a more satisfying click when it's in, then you press the button and it comes off, versus trying to line up and like slot the little grooves in there and wait for it to click in and you're not really sure. I think the new lens hood, it's a pretty minor improvement, but I like it. I like the new lens hood. There's also an increase in the filter diameter from 67mm to 72mm, but this is really more of a drawback than an advancement to anybody that already has a bunch of 67mm filters and accessories. Cosmetically, I think the new lens looks better. I prefer some of the new accents and touches here and there, and I definitely like the more neutral gray better to the kind of yellowy gray of yesteryear. Something I noticed about the IS version compared to the original is that the original had rather stiff rings for both the zoom and the focus, but the IS version are much, much looser, which I find can get quite a bit of acceleration and make for a rather loud kind of stop when you hit the end there. But the new 2018 IS2 seems to have found a happy medium between the two in terms of stiffness and looseness, and I think it's both noticeable and nice. It's a noticeable improvement. I like it. The newest lens also has some minor improvements in image quality, but they are definitely minor. Let's take a look at some side-by-side images that I took, and you can see what I mean. first shot is at 70 millimeters with the lenses going from left to right, oldest to newest, and they are very, very close. There's a slight variation in the focus between them, which might make some elements appear sharper than others, but the rendering is almost identical. Then at 200 millimeters, we see pretty much the same thing. My takeaway here is that with IS turned on the 2006 model, we get slightly less sharp images compared to the original 1999 USM, but the colors are the slightest bit richer. But the 2018 model seems to have found a balance again between stabilization, sharpness, and contrast. Now let's go into Lightroom, zoom in a little bit, and see the same effect reproduced. First, we have the 2006 IS version on the left and the 1999 USM original on the right. Here we see the same results, slightly better contrast on the IS version, but a little bit sharper on the non-IS version. Now if we compare those results to the new model and bring the 2018 version in on the left, we see that the newest release offers even better contrast and slightly improved sharpness. Now we're really pixel peeping here because on first and even second glance, these images seem virtually identical. So which one should you buy if you need one today? Well, that can be answered pretty easily by asking two questions. The first one is, do you need weather sealing and image stabilization? And two, how much is the 2006 version discounted? If you plan to hand bomb this thing at even modest shutter speeds, then you might want to look at getting the image stabilized version. I found that at 200 millimeters, that anything under 1/200th of a second had significant up and down blur in my images. But if you're using this primarily on a tripod, then that won't be an issue. As far as weather sealing goes, if you're planning on getting gritty with the lens, then weather sealing might be useful to you, but keep in mind that it only works if you attach it to a weather sealed body. So if you're going to be shooting in controlled settings on a tripod, then done. Decision made, get the non-IS version. It costs only half the amount of the IS version for virtually identical image quality. Now when it comes to the 2006 IS versus the 2018 IS2, it's a bit trickier. I think that when they're both at full price and there's only $100 difference between them, that it's worth getting the new one. It does carry some minor improvements, it does look and feel better, so I think that's worthy of the 7% increase in price. However, because the 2006 version is now officially out of production, it's possible that you'll get a discount greater than $100 on this version. And in that case, it might be worth snatching up those discounts. It's hard to put an exact dollar amount on how much these upgrades are worth, but I would say that if you're saving $200 or more on the older version, I would get the cheaper one. Lastly, for those that are considering an upgrade and already have one of these lenses, if you're going from the non-IS version, considering getting an IS version, then the same rules from before apply. Do you need image stabilization? Do you need weather sealing, etc.? But if you have the 2006 version and you're thinking, should I upgrade to the 2018 version? I would be a bit more hesitant, especially if you have filters and accessories already for the 67mm diameter. That being said, I do think that Canon priced this one effectively, paying around 10% more for about a 10% better lens. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I hope you found this video helpful or at least entertaining, and if you did, make sure you leave it the old thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But if you did not find this video helpful or entertaining, feel free to hit the dislike button twice. All right, I'm done.